The cane descended with a brutal crack, each strike echoing like thunder in the stillness of the guest room. Amar's hands shook as she swung, but the rage that fueled her kept her grip tight. On the ground, Mama Sandra, a blind 80-year-old, woman with bones brittle from age, curled into herself, her thin frame shuddering as each blow landed across her back. Her whispered pleas barely escaped her lips, words trembling like leaves in the wind. Why, Amar? End this torment, please. Just end it. Her voice was so faint, yet it pierced the storm inside Amar's chest. 5 long years in this house had twisted into a prison. Every attempt at prayers, fasting, medicines and sacrifices had left Amar empty-handed. No child, not even the faintest sign of hope. In her mind, all roads led back to the frail woman before her. Sorceress, Amar hissed, her voice cracking as tears cut down her cheeks. Jennifer was right. You cursed me. You destroyed everything. Her words broke apart in anguish as she raised the cane again. The sound of it striking flesh filled the silence, Mama Sandra's cries splintering the air like glass. To Amar, her husband's blind mother was no longer innocent. She was the enemy, the cause of her despair. Suddenly, the sharp creak of the door split the tense air. Benjamin stood there, framed by the doorway, the breath stolen from his chest. His eyes fell first on his mother, trembling on the floor, her arms covered with fresh welts, then on the cane clutched tightly in Amar's hand. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. His heart thudded like a hammer against his ribs as the scene crashed down on him like a nightmare. He had left an important meeting, driven by an inexplicable tug to check on his mother, only to step into the darkest moment of his life. His voice broke the silence, low and trembling. Amar, what is happening here? The cane slipped from Amar's hands and clattered against the tiles, its sound slicing through the air. She staggered backward, her lips parting, but words wouldn't come. Shame and fear tangled around her throat. Finally, she whispered, I can explain. But Benjamin was already moving, fury burning in his veins, betrayal drowning out reason. This woman before him, the wife who once served tea to his mother with tenderness, was a stranger now. Her heart hardened, her smile erased, her soul cloaked in bitterness. His hand struck across her cheek, swift and unyielding. Amar stumbled, gasping, shock flooding her eyes as she fell to the floor. Mama! Benjamin dropped to his knees beside his mother, gathering her frail body into his arms. Tears streamed down his face as he brushed her hair back, his heart fracturing with every trembling breath she took. It's me, Mama. It's Benjamin. I'm here. Her lips quivered as she whispered, Why, my son? Why would she hurt me? I swear I did nothing. Her words, weak but raw with pain, cut him deeper than any blade. Cradling her, Benjamin shouted toward the hallway, his voice ragged. Driver, start the car. We're going to the hospital. Now. Behind them, Amar lay frozen on the floor, her cheek stinging from the slap, her heart roaring with confusion and disbelief. Yet, in her mind, she clung to the poisonous words Jennifer had planted, like seeds in her soul. The old woman is the reason you are barren. As long as she breathes, no child will ever come. Amar's world crumbled as Benjamin carried his mother away, leaving her surrounded by silence and the discarded cane, a haunting relic of the woman she had become. The hospital corridors carried, a suffocating silence, broken only by the faint hum of machines and the hurried footsteps of nurses. Benjamin sat hunched over in the waiting area, elbows digging into his knees, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles blanched. His head hung low, and the weight of everything pressed down on him, heavier than stone. He had spent the last hour replaying the scene in the guest room, the cane raised, his wife's trembling face, his mother's frail cries. Each memory twisted into his chest like a blade. His eyes were bloodshot, not from exhaustion, but from the storm of grief and rage inside him. How could Amar betray us like this? He thought. How could she strike my mother, my blind and helpless mother? Inside the emergency room, doctors swarmed around Mama Sandra. They examined every bruise, every mark carved into her paper-thin skin. The welts on her arms and back told a brutal story, but what worried them most was her heart. At 80 years old, even a whisper of emotional trauma could prove fatal. Machines beeped steadily, but the air was thick with tension, as if the walls themselves held their breath. After what felt like an eternity, the door opened and a nurse stepped out. She approached Benjamin cautiously, her voice low. "Sir, she's stable for now," she said, her tone firm yet gentle. "But we need to monitor her for at least 48 hours. Her heart isn't steady." Benjamin swallowed hard, relief and dread clashing in his chest. "May I see her?" he asked. The nurse nodded and guided him inside. There, on the stark white bed, his mother lay fragile and pale, her hand tethered to a drip. She looked impossibly small against the vast sheets, yet when her face turned toward the sound of his voice, her lips curved into the faintest smile. "My son," she whispered, her voice trembling with pain. "You are here." Benjamin rushed to her side, clasping her frail hand in his. "Mama, I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. I should have known." His voice cracked and tears blurred his vision. But Mama Sandra shook her head slowly, her fragile grip surprisingly firm. "No, my son. You couldn't have known. Her act was flawless. She despised me, but I felt it long before I stepped into that house." Her words sliced through the air, and Benjamin's heart tightened as she continued. "I chose silence because I didn't want to add to your burden. You longed for a child. How could I speak when your heart was already breaking?" Benjamin bowed his head, grief flooding him. "Mama, why did she change? Why did Amar become this?" His voice was no more than a whisper. Mama Sandra's lips quivered, her words carrying the weight of a truth too heavy to ignore. She isn't alone in this. Deceit coils around her. Later that afternoon, while his mother dozed, Benjamin stepped outside into the courtyard of the hospital, phone clutched tightly in his hand. He dialed Amar. His heart pounded as the line rang, and when her voice finally broke through, trembling and subdued, it almost undid him. "Benjamin," she whispered, as if unsure whether he would even answer. For a long moment, he said nothing, his breath heavy. Then his voice cut through like steel. "Why, Amar? Why would you raise your hand against my mother? What evil drove you?" Silence followed, punctuated only by her shaky breaths. Then came her words, low and cracked with emotion. "Benjamin, I was desperate. 5 years. 5 years of waiting, of being mocked, of praying without answers. And then Jennifer," she stopped herself, realizing too late what she had confessed. Benjamin's heart stuttered. "Jennifer?" he repeated sharply. "What does she have to do with this?" On the other end, Amar's voice broke into sobs. She told me your mother was the reason, that Mama cursed me, that as long as she lived, I would never bear a child. I believed her, Benjamin. I believed her." Her confession came in a rush, words tumbling like stones down a cliff. Benjamin's grip tightened on the phone, fury surging through him. "And so you chose to beat an old blind woman, my mother, the one who welcomed you into this house. Amar, you let a serpent into your heart." His voice thundered across the line, raw and ragged. "I left everything to love you, and you repay me with betrayal." He ended the call before her sobs could pierce him further, his chest heaving as he stared at the phone in disgust. Back at the mansion, Amar collapsed against the wall, her phone slipping from her hand. Tears poured freely, soaking into her clothes. She thought of her wedding day, of Benjamin's smile when he vowed to stand by her, of the tenderness they once shared. Now those memories felt like ashes in her hands. Jennifer's words still rang in her ears, louder now than ever, but instead of comfort, they brought only ruin. In the shadows of her room, Amar whispered to herself, voice hollow and broken, "What have I done? What have I become?" But even as she wept, the seed Jennifer planted continued to grow, twisting her heart tighter with every beat. Jennifer's laughter rang softly in the dimly lit lounge, a sound smooth and deliberate, like silk hiding a blade. She swirled the wine in her glass, her lips curving into a sly smile as she listened to Amar's frantic voice over the phone. Amar was breaking apart, her sobs spilling freely, yet Jennifer's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Everything was unfolding exactly as she had planned. "You did what you had to do," Jennifer murmured, her tone honeyed, yet carrying venom underneath. "Do you think a woman like Mama Sandra will ever love you? No, Amar. She smiles at you, but inside, she despises you. Can't you see? She wants her son's love all to herself. She wants you barren, broken, and abandoned. You were brave to stand up to her." Amar clutched the phone tighter, her breaths uneven. "But Benjamin hates me now. He slapped me, Jennifer. He saw everything. How can I fix this? How can I ever win him back?" Jennifer's smile widened, though Amar couldn't see it. "Men forgive, Amar. They always do, when they are made to believe. You only need to stand your ground. Don't let guilt eat you. What you did wasn't cruelty. It was justice. Remember, without a child, you are nothing in his family's eyes. Do you want to live as the barren woman everyone mocks?" The words slithered into Amar's heart like poison, choking whatever remnants of reason she still carried. She pressed, her forehead against the cold wall, whispering, "I only wanted a child, Jennifer. That's all." "And you will have one," Jennifer assured, her voice dripping with deceit. "But only if you trust me. Your enemy is not me, it is Mama Sandra. Until she is gone, you will never hold your own child. Think, Amar, hasn't it been 5 years of emptiness? Doesn't that tell you enough?" Meanwhile, across town, Benjamin sat with his head buried in his hands in the hospital cafeteria. His mind replayed Amar's confession, her mention of Jennifer, and every puzzle piece began to align. He had always sensed Jennifer's malice, but Amar's vulnerability had blinded him to her influence. Rage simmered beneath his grief. "Jennifer," he muttered under his breath. "You snake. You've poisoned her against us." His jaw tightened as he rose abruptly from the table. He couldn't remain passive anymore. This wasn't just Amar's doing. It was manipulation, a deliberate scheme, and he would tear the mask from Jennifer's face. Back at the hospital ward, Mama Sandra stirred, her blind eyes turning toward the faint sound of her son's footsteps as he returned. "Benjamin," she whispered softly, "don't let anger consume you. Anger blinds worse than my eyes ever could." Her words carried wisdom wrapped in pain, but Benjamin's heart was already ablaze. "Mama," he replied, his voice firm, "this isn't anger, it's justice. I will not allow that woman to tear apart what we built. I will expose her." In the quiet of her recovery, Mama Sandra sighed, sensing storms yet to come. The evening. Sky bled into shades of crimson and grey as Benjamin finally returned to the mansion. Every step toward the gates felt heavier than the last, his mind set ablaze with fury and betrayal. The guards, sensing the storm in his eyes, stepped aside without question. The once warm and welcoming home now seemed colder, its walls carrying whispers of deceit. As he entered the living room, Amar sat curled on the sofa, her eyes swollen from hours of weeping. She lifted her gaze slowly, hope flickering weakly in her face, but it was extinguished immediately by the fire in Benjamin's eyes. "Where is she?" His voice was low, controlled, but trembling with restrained wrath. Amar's lips parted, but words failed her. She knew he meant Jennifer. She tried to reach out, but Benjamin pulled back sharply. "Don't," he warned, his tone like thunder, on the verge of breaking. "Your tears don't move me anymore. You chose to believe a serpent over your own family. You let her turn you against my mother, the woman who never once raised her hand or voice at you." Amar's sobs returned, heavy and broken. "Benjamin, please, I was weak. I only wanted to be a mother. Jennifer told me Mama Sandra cursed me. She said I would never carry a child if she remained in this house. I believed her. I let the lies consume me. Her body shook with remorse, but Benjamin's heart had already hardened. Do you know what you've done? He barked, his voice echoing through the hall. You didn't just hurt my mother. You speak of masks, Benjamin, Jennifer said smoothly, circling him like a predator sizing its prey. But the only mask here is yours, the mask of the loyal husband, the mask of the dutiful son. You pretend to be a man of strength, yet your house is in ruins, your wife is broken, and your mother clings to life. Tell me, who truly failed here? Me or you? Her words cut, but Benjamin refused to flinch. His eyes blazed as he took a step forward. You dare twist your venom into truth? You dare stand here and boast after destroying the woman I married, after nearly killing my mother? Jennifer smirked, her eyes gleaming with malice. Destroy? No, Benjamin, I revealed. Amar's desperation was always there, festering. I only gave it a voice. She was waiting for someone to tell her what she already feared, that your mother was the curse chained to her womb. I simply guided her hand. She glanced at Amar with disdain, and she was eager to believe. Amar buried, her face in her hands, sobbing. Stop! Please, Jennifer, stop! I didn't know what I was doing. I was blinded, broken. Her cries filled the room, but Jennifer silenced her with a glare sharp enough to pierce stone. You disgust me, Jennifer spat. All these years whining about children, crying about pain. I gave you strength, Amar. I gave you courage to fight for yourself. And what did you do? You squandered it. You crawled back to Benjamin, begging. Pathetic. Benjamin's fury finally erupted. He seized Jennifer by the wrist, his grip ironclad. Listen to me, he thundered, his voice raw. If you ever step foot in my house again, if you ever whisper another lie into my wife's ear, I will show you no mercy. This ends tonight. Jennifer only laughed, unbothered by his threat. She leaned closer, her voice a hiss meant only for him. You think you can erase me, Benjamin? I am not a shadow you can chase away. I am the truth Amar cannot. Forget. Every time she looks at your mother, she will remember my words. Every time she prays for a child and her womb remains empty, she will hear my voice. You may throw me out, but you cannot throw me from her heart. I live there now. Benjamin shoved her back, his hands trembling, his chest heaving. He turned to Amar, who was on her knees, broken, drowning in regret. For a moment, silence hung heavy, broken only by her quiet sobs. Jennifer, Benjamin said finally, his voice cold as steel. You've poisoned enough lives. Leave. Before I make. You regret every word you've spoken. Jennifer's smile lingered as she walked toward the door, her heels striking like daggers on the marble floor. This isn't over, Benjamin. Not until she bears your child, or loses everything trying. Her figure disappeared into the night, but her venomous words clung to the air, suffocating everyone she left behind. The door slammed behind Jennifer, but her poisonous words lingered like smoke that refused to clear. The mansion felt heavier than ever, weighed down by betrayal, guilt, and silence. Amar remained on the floor, her sobs shaking her frail body, while Benjamin stood motionless, staring at the door as though her shadow still lingered. His fists clenched and unclenched, his breaths shallow, the war within him raging louder than any storm outside. Benjamin. Amar's voice cracked, fragile as glass. She crawled toward him on trembling knees, reaching for his hand, but he recoiled. Sharply, the rejection struck her like a whip, and her tears fell harder. Please, don't turn away from me. I was blind. I was weak. I let her voice drown out everything you and Mama Sandra ever gave me. But I swear, I see it now. I see the truth. Benjamin, turned at last, his eyes burning, not just with anger, but with heartbreak. Do you think words can mend what's been torn apart, Amar? His voice shook with emotion. Do you think an apology erases the sight of my mother lying helpless in that hospital bed? Do you think it wipes away the memory of your hands raised against her? You, my wife, the woman I trusted above all, let another woman turn you into. Her weapon! Amar pressed her forehead to the cold marble floor, sobbing. I hate myself for it. Every moment, I hate myself. But please, Benjamin, don't let Jennifer's lies win. Don't let her destroy us completely. If you abandon me, then she wins. Please, don't let her win. For a moment, Benjamin faltered. His heart twisted at her words, his love battling against his fury. He had once dreamed of growing old with Amar, of raising children by her side. Could that dream still survive after so much poison? He turned his face away, whispering, I don't know if I can forgive you. Silence fell heavy between them. The ticking of the grandfather clock echoed like a drumbeat of fate. Amar stayed prostrate on the ground, waiting, praying, as though her very life depended on his next breath. Finally, Benjamin spoke again, his voice low but firm. If there is any chance for us, Amar, it will not be found in tears. It will not be found in Jennifer's lies or in blaming curses. It will be found in truth. Tomorrow, I will bring a priest into this house. If there is darkness here, it will be cast out. And if you truly regret your actions, you will stand beside me when that happens. Amar lifted her face, hope trembling faintly in her swollen eyes. Yes, she whispered. I'll stand with you. Whatever it takes, Benjamin. I'll fight for us. But even as her words lingered, Benjamin's heart remained heavy. Trust, once shattered, was not so easily rebuilt. And though Jennifer had left the house, her shadow lingered, entwined in Amar's soul like a stain that would not wash away. The night stretched long, each hour thick with unease, as husband and wife prepared for the dawn that would test their bond like never before. The first light of dawn crept into the mansion, pale and uncertain, as if even the sun feared to witness what was about to unfold. Benjamin had not slept a wink. He had spent the long hours pacing, replaying every betrayal, every word Jennifer had left behind. Amar, drained from weeping, sat silently by the window, her swollen eyes fixed on the horizon. The silence between them was fragile, but it held, an unspoken truce until truth could finally be unearthed. By mid-morning, the sound of footsteps echoed through the marble halls. The priest arrived, robed in white, his presence radiating calm, authority. His eyes studied the couple carefully, as though he could already sense the storm of darkness that lingered within these walls. The evil that has fed on this house will be revealed, he said solemnly, but truth demands courage. Are you ready? Benjamin nodded, his jaw set with determination. Amar hesitated for only a moment before whispering, yes. She clutched a rosary in her trembling hands, her lips moving in silent prayer. The priest began the cleansing, moving through each room with incense and chants, his voice steady and commanding. At first, the air was still. But soon, the atmosphere shifted. The temperature dropped, shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls, and a low moan seemed to echo from nowhere and everywhere at once. Amar's body shivered violently, her fingers gripping the rosary until her knuckles turned white. Suddenly, her voice broke into a scream. Not her own, but something darker, deeper, venomous. You cannot cast me out. She is mine. Her womb is mine. The voice was Jennifer's, echoing through Amar's lips, her body convulsing as though seized by invisible hands. Benjamin rushed forward, catching his wife before she collapsed. His heart thundered in his chest, torn between rage and fear. Fight her, Amar, he cried desperately. Fight her. Don't let her win. The priest's voice rose, powerful and unwavering. In the name of the Almighty, I command you, release her! Release this house! The walls shook as the chants filled every corner, light battling against the shadow that clung to Amar's spirit. Amar screamed again, tears streaming down her face. "Benjamin!" she cried, her own voice breaking through the darkness. "Don't let me go!" Benjamin held her tightly, his forehead pressed against hers. "I won't. I promise. I won't. You're stronger than her. You're mine, not hers. Fight, Amar. For us. For Mama Sandra. For yourself." With one final cry, Amar collapsed in his arms, her body going limp. The shadows that had swirled around the mansion shattered like glass, dissolving into nothing. The silence that followed was heavy, but it was different now, cleaner, lighter, as though a weight had been lifted. The priest lowered his hands, his voice quiet but firm. "It is done. She is free." Benjamin cradled Amar's face, his tears finally falling. For the first time in what felt like forever, she opened her eyes, clear, unclouded by fear or poison. "Benjamin," she whispered weakly. "I'm sorry." He kissed her forehead, holding her close. "We will rebuild, slowly, together, but this time, no shadows, no lies." Outside, the morning sun finally broke through the clouds, spilling golden light over the mansion. The nightmare had ended, but the scars would remain, a reminder of how close love had come to ruin and how strong it had to be to survive.